Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and right before I finish up my final 7-round predictive mock draft that I want to come out with right before I start streaming by like 6 p.m., I wanted to do a full dive into every single insider info and rumor that's out there pertaining to the Commanders coming up for this draft that's starting tonight. Again, the draft starts at 8 p.m. I think I'm going to start streaming as soon as like 6 p.m. so we can do like a call-in show for y'all to give y'all opinions, for y'all to pull up. We'll do some mock drafts together, all types of stuff. But apparently, the Washington Commanders want to trade for all-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey. There's another source out there saying that we want to trade back from 29. John Com is saying that we may be higher on Nick Scourton than originally believed. We have a lot of rumors that and way more. Before we get into everything, though, make sure you still follow that like button. Make sure you still follow that subscription button and still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all. Again, I will be live streaming tonight. I'm gonna live stream the entire round one. Y'all know me, man. I'm a GM at heart, so I'm excited about every player, every pick, every team. I'm a Commanders fan at first, most importantly, but I'm also a big football guy, so I will be breaking down. I'll be doing predictions for every pick. I'll be talking about what's a reach, what's a steal for every single pick. I'm not only just here for the Commanders, so make sure you pull up for that live stream, and then I'll be with the Commanders Kings for day 2 tomorrow, rounds 2 and 3, and then I'll be back on this channel by myself for rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that. Pull up for all of that. Without further ado, let's go and dive into the video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's start with some of the stuff that we were hearing about from yesterday. First of all, we saw some George Pickens rumors, but that wasn't attached to us, so I'm not really going to acknowledge that and really dive into that in this video. He's a Georgia Bulldog. I would love to get him, but I highly doubt the Commanders are even interested, but I would love a George Pickens. But most importantly, from yesterday, John Com went on his latest podcast and kind of gave his last spill of some of the important things that he's hearing and that he's gathering from NFL sources, insider sources, and things like that. First of all, he said that he's not fully convinced that the Commanders will pick a running back in the first round, possibly not even the second round. So that's interesting. Maybe they're targeting more so guys like maybe if Caleb Johnson makes it to the 4th round, highly doubt it. Or maybe like a Bashel Tootin, maybe he makes it to the 4th round, or maybe you wait until the 6th round to get him with that fumbling problem. But it sounds like we may not take a Travion Henderson or a Quinton Junkins or an Amarian Hampton within like the first 2 rounds or something like that. That's from John Com, though. Again, let me go ahead and preface this with the fact that nobody knows what Adam Peters is thinking. Like I've been saying for the past few weeks, I'm pretty sure even Cliff Kingsbury and even Dan Quinn himself doesn't fully know 100% exactly what Adam Peters is going to do right here, because everything comes through him. At the end of the day, Dan Quinn can have an opinion, and Adam Peters may ask him for his opinion. Cliff Kingsbury can have an opinion. Joe Wood Jr., all of these different scouts, Lance Newmark, even as the assistant general manager, can have an opinion. But at the end of the day, nothing happens without Adam Peters' say-so. So at the end of the day, nobody knows what Adam Peters is thinking. These could be whispers. These could also just be some like misinformation that the Commanders are putting out there, like, hey, tell these reporters this, so this is what everybody's thinking that we want to do, and then we're going to do the opposite. So who knows? I always want to preface that, but just going off of what John Com's saying and what he's hearing, I mean, because granted, you can't get much closer to the Commanders than John Com. Again, for reasons I've already stated, you need to make sure you take all of this information with a huge grain of salt. But if there's anybody that you may even be able to try to believe, if there is such a thing, John Com may be one of those guys. Also, speaking of running back, Washington absolutely wants a running back and would be surprised if they don't add one in this draft at some point. So it sounds like we may not necessarily be taking one in rounds 1 or 2, but we're definitely going to get one before this draft ends. Stay tuned for that. Also, John Com pointed out the fact that the Washington has met with Mike Green a number of times. They're not worried about the character concerns, and there's interest there. So watch out. If some ridiculously crazy, impossible way Mike Green makes it to the pick 29 where we are overall in the first round, expect us to sprint to the podium and take him and scream no take backsies as we walk away from the mic. So I mean, no pun intended for Mike, but hey man, I mean, that's a dream come true. That's one of those best case scenario situations where I almost would say it's nearly impossible that he slides, but who knows, crazier things have happened in the draft. But Mike Green would be a dream case scenario pick for us, man. And then also John Com said that there is definitive interest from the team in cornerback Maxwell Hairston. The only problem is, how serious is that interest? You know what I'm saying? That's the only question. Are we talking 29th overall in the first round, or they like him a lot, but maybe they're willing to wait to see if he's there at 61, or maybe we trade back from 29 and then they take him with whatever pick we end up with after we trade back somewhere maybe in the 30s or 40s or something like that. So of course there's interest there, but we're interested in a lot of guys. You can tell from our top 30 visits, guys we brought in from private workouts, that's not anything necessarily significant, even though I feel like John Com points him out for a reason. There's a reason he isolated Maxwell Hairston and Mike Green. There's probably more interest in those guys than most of the other names that have been attached to the Commanders so far. But again, the question is, how much interest is there? Is it 29th overall level interest? We'll see. And then lastly, from John Com from yesterday, Washington would like to continue addressing offensive line. That's important. Build around Jaden Daniels. Make one of your strengths stronger. So it could be arguably the best strength in the NFL, you could argue. And Com believes that if Tyler Booker specifically is somehow there at 29, the team would probably run to the podium. That's his exact quote. Probably run to the podium. So apparently the Commanders love Tyler Booker. The problem is they don't believe he'll be there at 29. But if he is, don't be surprised that we pass on edge rusher, we pass on running back, we pass on corner. A lot of these positions that people feel like is a bigger need and a hole on this team, don't be surprised if they just feel like Tyler Booker is best player available and they go ahead and take him even at a position that we don't necessarily feel like is a need. Because Nick Allegretti was solid at left guard last year, I would argue. I feel like Nate Herbig, who we signed as a free agent, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up starting over Nick Allegretti. That's how high I am on Nate Herbig. He was a really good guard for a couple of years in the NFL. Then he went to Pittsburgh. He was supposed to be their starting center, and then he just got hurt for the entire season. He missed the entire season last year. So I feel like he's a really good backup. At the very least, he's a better backup center than Michael Dieter was for us last year, who had to start a couple of games for us after Tyler Biadasz got hurt. So we have really good depth on the offensive line right now. You don't need a Tyler Booker, but again, according to John Com, maybe the Commanders feel like Tyler Booker would be best player available at 29 if he somehow falls there, and we'll just go ahead and do that. And then you have arguably a top 5 offensive line in the NFL, and I mean, you can't really complain about that. We would still have a big pass rusher need, but maybe they trust. Adam Peters did say a few days ago that this edge rusher class is very deep, and maybe that means that he's okay with waiting to take edge rusher until like the 4th round or 2nd, whoever. We'll see. Now, moving on to a lot of the rumors and insider info that we're seeing from today. Again, those were from yesterday. Today, we're seeing that from Deanna Rossini. Now, granted, a lot of people question her sources and say that she's a terrible source. I mean, I don't know either way, but based off of what she's saying, she said, quote, as far as the Commanders' plans at pick 29, they're trying to trade back. I can tell you that. And she said that definitively, like with some confidence, like some oomph to it. Like they are trying to trade back from 29. Whether they do or don't it's not necessarily because they didn't want to. It's just because the right trade wasn't in place or something like that. She also said, quote, let's say they stick there because they can't get out. Defense makes a lot of sense. Corner stands out. Edge rusher too, unquote. Which goes back to Mike Green and Maxwell Hairston. So even though, you know, it's hard to believe some of these rumors that are coming out at the last second, even though sometimes the information that we're getting right before the draft tends to be the most accurate. But again, all of these are rumors. But it's interesting when like John Com said something yesterday about Mike Green and Maxwell Hairston, and then Deanna Rossini said something about edge rusher and corner today. Those are two completely different sources coming from two completely different networks and everything, kind of saying around the same ballpark of things. We'll see what happens. It kind of makes you want to believe it just a little bit, the fact that two different sources are kind of saying generally about the same thing. And then also from what I've been seeing around the NFL, and also from what I'm even seeing from doing my own mock drafts and simulators, if we do end up trading back, I think the Browns or the Giants probably make the most sense because they are not too far away. I don't want to trade back so far that we can't get any of the really, you know, big names that I really want. And also on their end, from the Browns and Giants end, they are two teams that may want to trade back up into the end of the first round, to try to get a quarterback so that they can get that 5th-year option for him. You know, that 5th-year option is only available for first-round picks, just like the Ravens trading back up to get Lamar Jackson at the end of the first round so that they can be able to have him on contract for an additional year. And there's also even this rumor going around that the Browns may try to take Travis Hunter, 2nd overall, and then try to trade back up until the end of the first round to reunite him with Shadir Sanders at quarterback. That's a really interesting scenario. And if the Commanders are looking to trade back, and there's rumors around that the Browns are trying to trade up, I mean, hey, there you go. Now, granted, there's a few guys that's like Donovan Ezaraku. I may not even risk it. At 29, I'll probably just go ahead and take him right there. But if we trade back with the Browns, get some additional capital, draft capital, especially in this draft, especially somewhere like 3rd round where we don't have a pick right now, and you still end up with Donovan Ezaraku, dream case scenario, best case scenario, A+ draft movement right there, doing some damage right there, man. That's the type of move that would have other teams angry, like, how did y'all let this happen? But for an example of a trade, you know, if Washington trades back from 29 to Cleveland's 33, maybe we can get their 94th or their 104th in return, that would be really interesting, because again, after we pick 61, we don't pick again until like 128. So it would be nice to get like a 94th or a 104th pick in between. That would be really, just to move back 4 spots and still potentially get a guy that we really like a Donovan Ezaraku. I'm telling you, home run hit, or maybe trade back Travion Henderson. You know what I'm saying? Don't let the Bears get up ahead of you and end up taking them before you can. You know, we learned the hard way on the Commanders Kings a couple of nights ago when we were doing our own mock draft. We traded back too far, and the Bears ended up coming up to get them. Now, moving on to another rumor. According to Armando Salguero, I hope that's how you pronounce his name, apparently the Commanders are one of 5 teams that have spoken to the Dolphins regarding a trade for all-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey. Now, I'm trying to hurry up and get through this video, get through all of these rumors and information that I have for you, and I'm also trying to hurry up and get my final predictive 7th-round mock draft out to y'all, because under normal circumstances, if this rumor came out weeks ago, I would have done a full dive into who Jalen Ramsey is, how he fits on this team, why we should trade for him, why we shouldn't trade for him, and things like that. You know, I would have spent like 10 to 20 minutes on Jalen Ramsey alone, but we're gonna skip past that. I mean, hey, right now all I really have to say is that, well, since we want to trade back from 29 anyway, because apparently the Commanders, if they want to trade back from 29, that means they don't necessarily love the talent that may be available at 29. They may like it, but they may not love it to the point that they're willing to stay. So maybe they are low on that 29th overall pick, to the point that 1st round pick, they may be willing to give that up for Jalen Ramsey. Who knows? Now, granted, I personally would not. Maybe 5 years ago, I would have been all over this trade. But 2025, Jalen Ramsey, nah, you know what I'm saying? Especially after already trading for not only Laramie Tunsil and Deebo Samuel this offseason, so that's why we only have 5 picks in this draft, and we're already going into the next draft with only like 5 picks or something like that. But then also, you traded for another cornerback, specifically the same position Jalen Ramsey is already in Marshawn Lattimore just back in November. And trading for 2 of your starting corners is already a very irresponsible use of limited resources, in my opinion. You drafted a corner in Mike Sanderstill with the second in the 2nd round last year. You traded for Marshawn Lattimore, and then you'll trade potentially like a 1st round or a 2nd rounder for Jalen Ramsey. That's just too much capital put into the cornerback room only for me. You got to be smarter with your draft cap. Again, it's a limited resource league. You know, we have cap space. You only have a certain amount of picks. You got to make do with what you got, and you just can't put all of that capital between draft capital, money capital, all of that just to the cornerback position alone, because Jalen Ramsey is also making a really good amount of money too. But I'm just giving you all this information because, again, these are things that I'm hearing and seeing around the NFL internet right now. But would I personally do it? No. But I would not. Now, to say that the Commanders will trade for Jalen Ramsey, that's more of like I don't really believe that. But to say that we're one of the 5 teams that have at the very least have called the Dolphins about, hey, like what you thinking about as far as, you know, trade compensation for that Jalen Ramsey that y'all plan on, you know, you're allowing them to seek trades and things like that. I wouldn't doubt that. I think that's pretty likely, because the Commanders have shown that they do their due diligence everywhere. It doesn't matter how impossible a trade may seem. The Commanders at the very least are going to call and see. Hey, you just never know. Remember how DeAndre Hopkins got traded from the Texans to, I think it was the Cardinals at the time, for way less value than what we expected? And you could just tell that Ron Rivera also didn't expect for him to go for that little value. And it's just like, man, if they would have just called and asked, then they probably would have found out, and then they probably could have made a trade and probably offered just a little bit more, and it still would have been a steal. Well, worry no longer. Under this Adam Peters regime, you never have to worry about the Commanders missing out on any good trades if we wanted it. You know what I'm saying? We're at the very least gonna call and check in, and I love that about this regime. Nothing's ever just gonna fly under the radar for us, man. We're checking every corner, every crevice, any opportunity out there. We're looking, we're calling, we're asking. I love that. Also, moving on, speaking of trade players, you know, players that are available for trade right now. According to Jordan Schultz, from what he's hearing too, Browns players are believed to be available via trade entering the draft. So don't be surprised if cornerback Greg Newsome or defensive end Ogbo Okoronkwo is of both of those guys, or one of them, whatever, ends up getting traded at some point during this draft, especially day one during the first round. Just to let you know, Okoronkwo has recorded 7.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons, while Newsome, a former first-round pick, is entering the final year of his deal, and that's why the Browns are ready to probably move on. After all of that money they paid Myles Garrett, it's looking a little ugly. And also, they're probably ready to move on from Greg Newsome because, again, if the rumor is true that they're potentially taking Travis Hunter, they're more than likely going to play him at corner and wide receiver, but you allow Greg Newsome to walk, that sounds like Travis Hunter's going to play a lot of corner. Now, shouts out to Josh Taylor because he brings up an interesting point. He said, hey, we'll give you 29. We'll take 33, 179, and Greg Newsome and count me in. Now, I would do this personally, but I just don't think the Browns would accept that. I feel like that's a finesse. I feel like that's jugging them boys, man. I feel like that's a little bit too much for him to give up, man. Former first-round pick that doesn't necessarily play like a first-round pick, but he's a really good corner. He's a solid corner that would definitely help us. If you're not going to go get a Jalen Ramsey, Greg Newsome makes a lot of sense. But to only move back 4 spots and get Greg Newsome and a 179th overall pick, I don't think they would do that. You would have to at least take away that 179th pick, and then maybe you could talk. We'll see. I don't know. And then also moving on, John Comm just said today, remember a lot of the rumors that he spoke on yesterday, today, the same John Comm said a name that I haven't mentioned enough during the draft process is defensive end Nick Scourton. Ben Standig has dropped his name a few times, but he would be a good fit here as well. At 29, I don't know. Tonight is a real life version of the mystery theater. Nobody knows what's going on, basically. But John Comm is throwing that name, Nick Scourton, out there. Don't be surprised if the Commanders like him a little bit more than we assume. Maybe they're willing to take him at 29. Maybe they're willing to trade back with the Browns or the Giants and then take them there. And then speaking of nobody knowing what's going on, Nikki Javella also had a funny tweet, but a true tweet. She said, a person with knowledge of the situation confirms no one has a clue what Washington will do at 29, first by John Comm. And that's literally true. Nobody knows. We're just throwing rumors out there. First of all, I'm just excited, so I'm willing to take in any information, but I'm taking everything with a grain of salt. Now, I also have some draft help for you, because if you look on the screen right now, moving on from the rumors, shouts out to Ben Standig for this. He tweeted, cheat sheet alert. The Commanders veered hard into drafting college team captains last year. 7 of our 9 draft picks last year were team captains. Using Dane Brugler's draft guide as a reference, here are at least 98 captains in the 2025 class to track over 7 rounds. And some guys that stand out are Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, Ali Gordon. You have Donovan Ezaraku. You have Emeka Ibuka. You have, a few guys that we've been attached to. Elijah Arroyo would be interesting there. There's a few names. Donovan Ezaraku stands out the most for me by far, though. But you also have Nick Scourton, who we just talked about. Josiah Stewart, you could probably get maybe in the 4th round. Who knows? Of course, you have my Georgia dog, Michael Williams, and things like that. But you have some interesting names out there, man. We'll see. We'll see. Carson Schwessinger, whose name has been rising lately, and I forgot who the reporter was, but just a couple of days ago, somebody on ESPN, maybe, I think it was Adam Schefter, said that, hey, there could be a chance that the Commanders take that Carson kid, linebacker from UCLA, at pick 29. Team captain. Wouldn't be surprised there. I love Benjamin Morrison. I would love to get him. Nick Amawari, the safety there. That's a potential pick that some people are mocking him to us. He was a team captain as well. There's a few notable names up there. And then also moving on. Shouts out to JP Finley for this one. He tweeted out the draft value chart. He's tweeted, based on the old school Jimmy Johnson draft pick value chart, the Commanders pick at 29 is worth 640 points. But based on the more modern Belichick chart, it's worth 202 points. If you're looking for trades, look for teams that are roughly can get to that point value when you're adding up the numbers, basically. And again, these are the pictures and the trade value numbers that you're looking at right now. The one on the left is the old school Jimmy Johnson one. The one on the right is the more new Bill Belichick one. So I would reference the one on the right if I were y'all, but that's just me. And then also moving on, we also have a final mock roundup from the biggest and most known draft guys. I'm not saying these guys are the smartest guys or the best insiders in any way. I'm just saying these are the bigger names. Peter Schrager has us taking Shamar Stewart. Chris Collinsworth has us taking Mike Green. McShay has Donovan Ezraku. Matt Miller has Donovan Ezraku. Ari Marov has Emeka Ibuka, and Brooks has us taking Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas. So right now, according to those, it looks like wide receiver and pass rushers seem to be the trend heading towards this upcoming 29th overall pick. You have 4 edge rushers and 2 receivers right there. But then also, you have Jason Boris, who Sam Fortier says considers like the mock draft king. Like, he tends to be really accurate with these. And he has us taking Donovan Ezraku as well. So right now, edge rusher 5-2. And Donovan Ezraku is 3 of those alone. So it sounds very likely. And y'all already know Donovan Ezraku is one of my favorite options there. So I'll be really happy about that. Now, moving on, we also have some really random updates I want to also include right here. Starting with, first of all, Madden just came out with their super cinematic trailer for their upcoming game, Madden 26 and all of that. And did you know that Dan Quinn is the voiceover for the Madden 26 trailer? Like the Madden 26 trailer, not this, Madden 26 trailer that's specifically for Commanders fans. No, the Madden 26 trailer, Dan Quinn is the voiceover for it. Shouts out to Ben Standick for tweeting with the 29th pick, the Washington Commanders select Matthews Jr., who's like their hypothetical character draft pick guy for their trailer and things like that. But Commanders are front and center in the new EA Sports draft commercial, and Dan Quinn with the voice over elite stuff, man. And shouts out to Mark Bullock, because I agree. He said, I can't think of any time other than maybe 2012 with RG3 where Washington would have been such a feature for something like Madden. We weren't even this included in Madden when we were about to draft Jaden Daniels 2nd overall. So it just seems like finally people are really believing in us, man. We're marketable. We're likable. We're also watchable. You know what I'm saying? Madden had every team to choose from, and they chose the Commanders to be the team that drafts their hypothetical college football star in their draft trailer. I just felt like that was amazing, man. I know it doesn't necessarily have any like concrete thing that helps us in this upcoming draft, but I just thought it was really cool, man, that they chose us out of all 32 NFL teams and our head coach, and then they had the hypothetical player get drafted by us, like the star, the guy that's like the protagonist, technically, for their game. So I just love that. Also, Irvin Magic Johnson tweeted just as yesterday, wishing Washington Commanders general manager Adam Peters and his excellent team, along with head coach Dan Quinn, his amazing staff, and my sensational partner, Josh Harris, a super NFL draft starting tomorrow through Saturday. Just wanted to give y'all that update. The Magic Johnson, of course, is wishing the best for us because he's a part owner of this team. And if there's any team that he's rooting for, it's us for us to have a great draft. Also, just to let you know, the Commanders are having a watch party tonight in the Navy Yard. Here's the exact ad right here. Tonight, Thursday, April 24th, 7:30 p.m. to the end of the draft, you have Tom's Watch Bar Navy Yard watch party for the draft. You're going to have Washington Legends. You're going to have Major Tuddy, Commanders Force, exclusive giveaways, all of that type of stuff. They're not paying me to tell you this. I just wanted to tell y'all this just off of the strength that I saw it. I'm not sponsored by any of these guys. I have no connections there. I just felt like I saw that information. I should share it with y'all as well. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you love everything discussed in the video. Please stick on that like button, stick on the subscription button, and stick on the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. I just got tripped up there talking because as I'm like giving my spiel at the end and telling y'all to like the video and all of that, I'm seeing notifications about George Pickens trade packages and stuff. So that just caught me off guard. But either way, man, make sure y'all pull up for the stream tonight. Make sure you look out for my final predictive 7th-round mock draft. Really appreciate y'all. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about all of these rumors and info that I gave y'all. Do you believe any of them? Do you hope that some of them happen? Let me know if you agree, disagree with any of the rumors or info or any of my opinions. Really appreciate y'all. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. Most importantly, I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.